सब्सक्राइब कीजिए हमारे चैनल और दबाइए बेल का आइकन ताकि आपको रेगुलर नोटिफिकेशन अपडेट्स मिल सके।
حسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون.
Finally, about this ayah in regards to this dunya and the next. In this dunya, there is no loss for the believer. They can't lose. You know, the believers were addressing the hypocrites and they said to them, I believe this is in Surah At-Tawbah, هَلْ تَرَبَّصُونَ بِنَا إِلَّا إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ. Are you waiting or procrastinating in our case, and we're only going to end up in one of two beautiful things? Husnayain, two beautiful things. One, we lose in battle, we die and we go to paradise, we still win. Or we win in this life and Allah gives us reward in the next life. In other words, the Muslim can't lose. It's only a win-win situation for the believer. So much so as something that everybody gets sad about. You know, when people get sick, you become very sad for them. And it's a very difficult thing for families to cope with and things like that. But from an iman point of view, from a faith point of view, when the messenger is brought, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, someone who's sick, what does he say to them? La ba's. The first things he says, la ba's, no problem. That's the first thing he tells them. It's a strange thing to say to someone who's sick. He says, la ba's. Then he says, tahur inshaAllah. It is a purifier by Allah's will. In other words, the longer you are sick, all of your previous sins are being paid for. And when you end up in front of Allah on Judgment Day, and you, instead of complaining, Ya Allah, why did you keep me sick for so long? I had diabetes, I had cancer, I had really bad allergies, this and that. On the Day of Judgment, you will thank Allah for that sickness. Because each second of that sickness was getting rid from you these sins. And you come before Allah purified, subhanAllah. So the person is going through affliction in this world, but even this is not sadness for them. Allah Azza wa Jalla even makes that a place of joy. You know, this is the power of this deen. لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. And nobody outside of this deen can enjoy this kind of tranquility and peace. There are two very difficult trials in this dunya. Very difficult trials. They're very hard to pass. You know what those two trials are? One of those trials is extreme difficulty. Like a calamity, like a flood and an earthquake, or serious famine and poverty and hunger and a violence and things like these are serious trials, very difficult. You can lose your faith in that kind of a trial. That's one kind of problem that can test your faith. Here's the second, extreme luxury. When everything is easy. You open the fridge and you have all kinds of drinks, all kinds of food in front of you. Right? All kinds of luxuries are before you. You know what happens when you have too much luxury? You start taking it for granted. And when you take it for granted, then you stop being grateful. So when one thing is missing from the menu, you start becoming angry. Or one thing is less than what you were expecting, then you get upset. You can go to a 3-star hotel and then say, man, I should have been in a 3.5 star. You start thinking, what more can I have? You stop being grateful for what you have, and this is a loss of faith also. So some people in this dunya are right now being tested with difficulty. And others, don't think we're not being tested. We may be tested with luxury. We may be tested with ease. Of kings. I know there are parts in the Muslim world where like children have meat on the table on Eid day. And they get one piece of meat. And this is like, on Eid I had a leg of chicken. And they're amazed by it. And how much food we throw leftovers and things like that. We're not grateful people. He mentions following guidance as an individual thing. You know why? Because sometimes following guidance means you have to be alone. Following misguidance, everybody can do it. And they'll do it in a herd. And when you want to follow guidance, you have to stand away from the herd. It's like swimming upstream. You'll be the only one sometimes. You might be the only one in your family who's trying to stick to Allah's deen. Everybody else is going in the opposite direction. Look at the messengers. When they start their missions, alayhimussalatu all by themselves. And the people who follow them, the loners in their families. The whole family, goes against them. So following this deen and following its guidance has to be a very personal, brave initiative. But then the gift of Allah, la khawfun alayhim وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. When you do follow Allah's guidance, He gives you a new company. He gives you company of believers. So the rest of the ayah is plural. In this dunya, you get the company of believers. And in the akhirah also, لَنُدْخِلَنَّهُمْ فِي الصَّالِحِينَ. We will enter them into the company of the righteous. May Allah give us that company in dunya and in akhirah.